Tonight, Montana coronavirus cases continue to climb, and across the country, Americans are becoming infected at record rates. Plus, plans to get kids back to class are adding up among state education leaders. And later, from matinees to main events, one historic Montana theater is ready for its close-up.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news from Montana's news leader.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Tim McGonigal. As Montana hit another one-day record for newly reported COVID-19 cases, Governor Bullock said the worst may not be over and that high numbers will continue to be reported in the coming days and weeks. But he and a top business official also said Montanans can still act to slow the virus, and a big part of that effort is wearing a mask in public. On a day when Montana reported 67 new COVID-19 cases, its highest one-day total yet, the governor said he's worried Montanans are letting down their guard. He said the 6 weddings and their related gatherings have led to at least 24 cases and impacted 2 other states. The governor said people need to avoid large gatherings, or if they're around other people, wear face masks. And when asked why he's not requiring wearing of masks in public places, Bullock said he'd like it to become a socially accepted necessity rather than a requirement. Toward that end, the president of the Montana Chamber of Commerce also appeared alongside the governor at a Capitol News conference and said many businesses are calling on people to increase their use of face masks in public. Todd O'Hare said the business community doesn't want Montana to follow in the footsteps of other states that have had to reinstate closures of some establishments.
Government grants, low-interest loans, business bailout dollars cannot compare to healthy economic activity. Businesses will not be able to survive in Montana without a healthy economic activity in the state. And healthy economic activity is founded on a healthy population.
We don't have to be like these other states and take steps backwards if we again raise our guard. And one of the most important ways we can raise that guard is to make wearing a mask a habit and normalized.
Governor Bullock said he's still hopeful that Montana can keep its number of cases from increasing greatly or even decline in the not too distant future. Well, Montana continues to reach milestones when it comes to coronavirus. Yesterday, the Treasure State surpassed the 1,000 confirmed cases mark. And again today, 67 cases are a record since reports began in March. Tonight, we learned the state has seen its 23rd death from coronavirus, a resident of Bighorn County. As of this evening, Montana has 373 active cases. Over 700 people have recovered. Rising coronavirus numbers is a trend across the country. Health experts warn the United States is running out of time to control the virus. The U.S. recorded more than 50,000 coronavirus cases Wednesday. That's the highest number of new infections tracked in a single day since the pandemic began. 23 states are now pausing or changing plans to reopen economies. The new data has health experts urging Americans to keep their 4th of July celebrations small and hold them outdoors to stop even further spread. Again, we're about to embark on that 4th of July weekend, which means there will be plenty of fireworks and large gatherings. Those get-togethers can increase chances for spreading coronavirus. Montana is currently in phase 2, which has allowed for less restrictions due to COVID-19 restrictions. Cascade City County Health Department officials say the phased reopening is largely responsible for the increase.
So we have been seeing an increase in cases. I think there's a couple of contributing factors to that. One is we are doing more testing. We are recommending that any close contacts be tested as soon as they are notified of being a close contact. But that can't explain away all of the new cases. So what that tells us is that reopening is contributing to the spike in cases.
The Cascade City County Health Department is also asking individuals to wear masks to help stop the spread. Well, today, the governor's office released a set of guidelines for Montana public schools to follow as they consider how to reopen this fall amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. But so did the state superintendent of public instruction, and she's not exactly happy about the double set of plans. Early this afternoon, State Superintendent of Public Instruction Elsie Arnson, a Republican, released a 40-page set of guidelines on how schools may reopen this fall. Within the hour, however, Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney unveiled a separate set of reopening recommendations developed by the governor's office. Arntzen told MTN News that she spoke with Cooney 3 weeks ago and told him that officials should have a unified plan. She says the governor's office going ahead on its own is, quote, a poor way of doing government, end quote. However, she says she'll include the governor's recommendations with information that she sends out to school districts this summer. Governor Bullock said since he had given the directive to close schools in March, he thought it was important for his office to issue guidelines on reopening. Both documents are a list of recommendations that school districts can choose to follow as they decide how and whether to reopen this fall. In federal court, a Browning woman was charged with 1 count of murder in the stabbing death of Waylon Lee Mittens. Officers conducted a welfare check on June 2nd after family members had not heard from Mittens in several days. They found the body of Mittens in the home he shared with Danielle Marie Marceau. On June 3rd, officers received information that Marceau was responsible for the death of Mittens and arrested her at her mother's house. Marceau made several incriminating statements to FBI agents saying, quote, I stabbed him. She has been charged in federal court with 1 felony count of murder. The jury trial for a woman charged in connection with hitting and severely injuring a child as she was getting off a school bus near Whitefish has been delayed. Court documents show Patricia Berliner waived her rights to a speedy trial for the period of a requested continuance. Originally set for August 17th, the trial will now be held on November 30th. Court documents state that the defendant needs additional time to investigate issues surrounding the policies and procedures of the bus driver and bus company involved in the incident. Berliner pleaded not guilty to a charge of felony criminal endangerment on April 30th and was released on her own recognizance. The charge filed carries a maximum term in the Montana State Prison of 10 years and a maximum fine of $50,000. Jordana Hubble was taken to Nexus Children's Hospital in Houston in January to continue her recovery from the injuries she sustained in that incident. The Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services has released their child fatality report for last year. In 2019, 17 children died that were known to Montana's child welfare system, an additional 7 that were not. For children known to CPS, the leading causes of death were unsafe sleep, a medical condition, and abuse or neglect. For children unknown to CPS, drowning and abuse or neglect were the leading causes of death. The state has already taken steps to prevent similar deaths by distributing safe sleep cribs and working with FWP to provide life jackets at popular swimming areas. Deputy Director Laura Smith says especially when it comes to water, always make sure there's a watchful eye on the child.
Really encourage families, caregivers, babysitters to be emptying sources of water in the home immediately after use. That includes bathtubs, wading pools, and any freestanding water.
DPHHS also strongly encourages people to report cases of child abuse or neglect. The Montana Abuse and Neglect Hotline is 1-866-820-5437. That's a toll-free number, and that call could potentially save a life. The unemployment rate fell to 11.1% in June. Data from the Labor Statistics Department shows that 4.8 million jobs were added last month. June was the second consecutive month of job growth since millions of jobs were slashed in April. Economists say numbers from July are far better than what they predicted, but they still haven't caught up to the pre-pandemic numbers. The country would need to create about 14 million more jobs to catch up to the job numbers we had back in February. Well, many people will head to the great outdoors to celebrate the 4th, so what will the weather be like? For the answer, let's check in with MTN's Elizabeth Copeland.
Hey everyone, great to be filling back in for Central and Eastern Montana. I'm working from home for the next few days just because I've been traveling, so trying to stay away from the co-workers and do a little self-quarantine here just to be safe. So while I'm broadcasting from my living room, let's check out what's going on in Central and Eastern Montana outside. We're tracking some very warm temperatures right now. We're looking at those 70s, even closing in on 80 near Glasgow, so very warm for this time of night. We're going to hold steady in the 70s for the next few hours really, and tomorrow even warmer. We're tracking the low 80s for Friday afternoon, but through the afternoon hours, we're still going to have a few isolated thunderstorms in the forecast here and there, and that's where we're going to be talking about some of those stronger, even severe storms. So definitely want to keep an eye on the radar in the forecast Friday and even Saturday night as another round of storms move into the forecast. Other than that, the weekend is looking beautiful. We'll have more on what you can expect for your holiday weekend and even heading into next week coming up shortly.
Well, some newlyweds couldn't wait to say I do, while other young lovers have put their nuptials on hold. We'll hear from both camps when the news continues.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 10 o'clock news continues on Montana's News Leader.
Welcome back. It's been about a month and a half since Montana movie theaters were allowed to reopen. While some box offices remain boarded up, others are gladly sharing their screens. I went to one small town where the big picture is back. On a Saturday summer night, people in Conrad, Montana are returning to a sense of normalcy by going to the movies.
We reopened June 5th, and the movie that we showed was Jaws.
Although Montana theaters were given the go-ahead to open May 15th, the historic Orpheum Theater waited a while to draw the curtain.
We just felt, as a group, maybe waiting till June to kind of see, how others fared, and it looks like we all pretty much fared about the same.
Milk chocolate M&Ms.
So far, the crowds have been what they expected, about 35 to 40 people per weekend. Before COVID, the crowds were about 60 to 65 per weekend. The stay-at-home order gave the crew an opportunity to perform a deep clean, including the difficult task of cleaning the theater's chandelier. In preparation for reopening, they strictly adhere to health department guidelines, including safe social distancing.
We've divided out the rows, every other row. We do have a couple of handicap accessible chairs, so I wanted to make sure that those rows were left open.
The Orpheum has been a part of Conrad's history for more than 100 years. Ironically, it opened the first time during the height of a pandemic.
The theater was built in 1918, and as a string of Orpheum theaters, across the country, that seemed to be the general name. When it was purchased by the Ponderay Arts Council, it was in pretty sad condition. The ceiling was falling in, the roof needed to be replaced.
A generous grant from the Wiegand Foundation funded renovation of the current Art Deco style and included a stage expansion.
So in 2012, we went digital.
Movies are the main attraction, but other cultural events add to the Orpheum's intrigue.
Musical performers, Ponderay players to do plays on the theater, Shakespeare in the Park, Missoula Children's Theater. While moviegoers anxiously await the new releases, they're still giving 2 thumbs up to some new classics.
Yeah, you guys excited to see the movies?
Yes.
Maybe COVID isn't the showstopper we thought it was. The theater did have to furlough some employees for about a month, but they did receive a payroll protection grant, and due to adhering to safety guidelines, have actually hired additional staff. Well, earlier this week, Governor Bullock and the state said several clusters of COVID-19 have been linked to large gatherings or weddings. The pandemic has led many couples to question the plans around their own wedding day. MTN's Jessica Nelson spoke with several people about their decision to move forward or delay the special day.
Just because it's your wedding day doesn't mean that the virus is going to take a break.
Planning a wedding takes time, patience, and detail. But planning a wedding during a global pandemic?
There was a whole bunch of unknowns.
There was so much unknown.
Of course, there had to be decisions that had to be made right away.
Cedric and Kayla Hewitt tied the knot on June 20th as a new wave of the coronavirus was just starting to hit the state.
Obviously, it'd be a little awkward if we told people 3 days beforehand, oh yeah, we can't do this.
Allie Robbins and her husband Jamie faced the same tough decision.
I thought, oh, this will for sure be over by June, and it kept getting worse. We were just trying to decide if we wanted to cancel or not. I didn't really want to because, I just wanted to move forward in life.
Both couples tell me they consulted state health guidelines that called for strict social distancing. They kept their weddings to fewer than 150 people and chose venues where they could spread out or be outdoors.
It was outside, and we had a bunch of hand sanitizer and masks provided, and so it turned out really, really great, and I'm really glad we did it. So
it was also kind of inspiring to me too, because despite the whole COVID thing going right now, we're still able to have our wedding. We're still able to have family, friends there. Do a couple of guidelines, of course.
But one bride-to-be I spoke with is choosing to delay her Montana wedding.
We talked about maybe, doing it in August or September, but at the end of the day, I don't see it going away that fast. And I would rather just wait and not have to worry about it, and not people in our bridal party and family feel pressured to put themselves in a situation that's not safe. So
In Helena, Jessica Nelson, MTN News.
Now, Governor Bullock announced today 6 weddings in 5 different counties are responsible for more than 20 new COVID cases. Bullock says these are related to pre-wedding festivities and post-wedding activities where health guidelines are not being followed. The state health department would like anyone planning an event to consult with them first in order to maintain social distancing guidelines and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
All right, we're going to be tracking a lot more sunshine for our 4th of July weekend forecast to start out with, but we are going to track some stronger storms here coming up in our extended outlook.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with Elizabeth Copeland.
Hey everyone, coming to you live from my living room. Going to be forecasting from home these next few nights just because I've been traveling, so might as well keep it safe, right? So bringing to you the central and eastern forecast from the living room right now. We're tracking a warming trend, and if that's impossible to think about because I mean, look at just the early or beginning of next week. We are 25 degrees below average, a very chilly start to the week and the weekend. Well, now that warming trend is finally on the way, and we're going to look at much warmer temperatures. We're only 4 degrees below average today, but we're going to climb above that normal line as we head into the next couple of days, really, especially into the holiday weekend. So right now we're about 10-15 degrees warmer right now than we were this time yesterday in central and eastern Montana, holding about just right where we were this time yesterday, and have just a few more clouds around the high line tonight and tomorrow morning. Otherwise, high pressure is keeping us mostly clear. So you can see there right across the Rocky Mountain front, some of the high line, a few clouds passing here and there, just why it's keeping slightly cooler than the rest of central and eastern Montana. Stronger storms staying off to our east for now, but we are going to track some activity moving in as we head into tomorrow evening. So for tomorrow morning, expect a lot more of the sunshine in the forecast. Nothing special there, especially as you head out the door. Warmer weather. Matter of fact, as you notice those outdoor temperatures on the climb back into the 80s tomorrow afternoon. Warm and sunny for those early morning hours. It's really not until the afternoon hours we're going to see the activity. So 5:30 a.m. that sunshine's coming out bright and beautiful. Plenty of blue skies to observe in our area. Then through the afternoon hours, right around 4 or 5 p.m., you start to see some of those isolated storms start popping up. Some of those stronger to severe storms possible right there along the line just to the east of Missoula across the Rocky Mountain front, and then basically a line from Butte to Glasgow is what we're looking at tomorrow, and that's exactly what's reflected in our severe weather outlook. So SPC put us under a marginal risk forecast all the way from Bozeman to Glasgow. Those areas could see some of those isolated severe storms, slight risk, even higher risk for some of those severe storms across the northeast corner. That does include Plentywood, so definitely keeping the eye on the radar there for tomorrow. And then Saturday, July 4th, a few more of those stronger storms and severe storms still a possibility through central and northeast Montana. So what we're looking out for is going to be the hail, wind, and lightning for those outdoor plans you have for this 4th of July weekend. So over the next 6 to 10 days, though, things get a little normal. We're going back to about average for all of Montana for drier to wetter conditions. So not too much differentiation between the normal temperature and even precipitation that we're looking at in the 6 to 10 day outlook. So everything looks pretty normal there. But as we head for the next couple of days, again, keeping the eye on the radar Saturday and Sunday as some of those stronger storms are possible Saturday night. Friday, a few pop-up showers here and there, definitely a possibility. So Friday, Saturday, going to be the warmest days of the week, but also feeling some of those afternoon, evening storms for us. Holding steady in the 70s on Sunday and Monday, though, and then we're going to climb right back up to the 80s on Wednesday and Thursday for Great Falls. So for the 4th of July in Helena, back in the 80s Friday and Saturday as well. Same situation, still looking out for those storms in the afternoon and evening. Sunday, a nice sunny day. We're climbing back up to the upper 70s. We're back in the mid 80s on Tuesday. So besides Friday evening, Saturday evening storms, we're looking at a very summer-like pattern through the end of next week.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Well, the season may be shorter, but players and coaches in the Frontier Conference are still excited. More from one of the league's new faces is coming up next.
Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 10 o'clock news continues on Montana's News Leader.
Well, lots of changes will be coming to this year's college football season. MTN's Dom Tibbetts tells us how one of the Frontier Conference favorites is ready to roll with the punches.
When the NAIA and the Frontier Conference announced an 8-game football season this year, the reaction from Montana Tech head coach Kyle Sampson was exactly what you would have expected.
That's my biggest thing is, hey, I'm excited that there's a schedule and we have a season, and we're excited to get going on August 15th.
August 15th will be the first day as mandated by the NAIA. Coach Sampson and the rest of his staff will be able to hold an organized practice with his players. But in the meantime, Sampson has praised his team for leading their own practices to make sure when the time comes to hit the field, there's no setbacks.
You know, I think it's going to pay dividends in the end, though, when you got guys that are taking the initiative this summer to make sure the guys are working out and getting everybody here working out in the mornings. You know, I think it's going to be a really good thing for our leadership and for our kids to really understand, you know, what it takes to be a leader every single day.
Montana Tech's first game of the season will be September 12th at home against MSU Northern. But for right now, Coach Sampson and his staff are focusing on the tasks that lie ahead of them.
Really, right now, it's just day to day. We're just trying to take it one day at a time and getting as prepared as we possibly can be, knowing that it could all change.
Safety for players, the coaching staff, and the fans are still at the forefront of Montana Tech's priorities. The administration is currently working on developing a plan that could still get fans into the walls of Bob Green Field. However, the option to limit attendance is most certainly on the table. But that may just be the price to pay to suit up the pads and hit the field this fall.
I think all of our kids right now, they're definitely going to be a little disappointed that they're not going to have 10,000 people or 5,000 people in the stands, but I think they all just want to play.
In Butte, Dom Tibbetts, MTN Sports.
Well, passing to tell you about tonight, legendary broadcaster Hugh Downs has died at the age of 99. Downs' storied career included anchoring ABC News 2020 and NBC's Today Show. He also hosted The Tonight Show for a brief time. Downs got his start in radio before serving in World War II. He once held the world record for appearing on television for more hours than anyone else. He retired in 1999, ending his award-winning broadcasting career. A statement from his great niece confirmed his death, although a cause was not given. We'll be right back after this.
Next 7 days, we're still looking at some afternoon, evening storms Friday and Saturday. Again, some of those could be strong to severe, looking at possibility of hail, frequent lightning, and very gusty winds. So keep an eye on the radar if you have those outdoor plans in central and eastern Montana, especially Friday night and Saturday night. The rest of the week shaping up to be very summer-like as we hit the 70s and 80s.
And before we go, 8 endangered Mexican wolf pups have become stars at the Museum of the Desert in Mexico as conservationists seek to bring the species back from the brink of extinction. The playful pups, who bounded around on rocks in their enclosure today, were born in April. They're members of the museum's 5th litter. According to the museum, there are only about 30 specimens of this wolf species in the wild in Mexico. The conservation programs have bred several hundred in captivity. The Mexican wolf population was nearly wiped out in the 70s due to threats from farmers seeking to protect their cattle. Well, that's all the time we have for you tonight. Have a great night.